So, if you've ever wanted to know more about the dark night of the soul in detail, Gerald May's book is for you. He's a theological scholar and former psychiatrist who reads St. John of the Cross and Theresa of Avila in the original Spanish and Latin. And I just wanted to briefly share a couple of clarifications about the night and then go over its two dimensions and the three spirits that John says you can expect to meet. First off, the Dark Night is not a singular event, but an ongoing and multi layered process. It puts you in touch with the foundations of not knowing. It's ultimately a process of liberation from our fixations. And there's two overlapping dimensions to this. The dark night of the senses, this is where we are stripped of our attachments to the external world. And here we may lose relationships, our job, our home, our habits, anything that we relied on or gained pleasure from. And this will often trigger the second, the dark night of the spirit, in which we lose our connection to our usual beliefs and expectations. Our worldview may be tested and crumble, and we experience a general loss of inner foundations. And there's a few universal signs that characterize this process. And it's important to note that on the surface, much can seem to overlap with depression, but the two are very distinct. The dark night ultimately has a liberating quality to it in the end, which depression does not. So the first sign is feeling that your life doesn't work anymore. You're not able to live as you used to. The old ways seem empty. Maybe you feel you're just going through the motions, and trying to just merely double down and renew things won't work. The second is a deeper loss that builds on this, the loss of desire or energy to even try to rebuild anything. You just can't anymore. You can't with the effort and the striving. And the strongest sign is just an overwhelming desire to just sit alone in peace, quiet, and just have total rest. And we might call this just sitting with yourself and getting in touch with the highest place within you, like your own feeling of source. And throughout all of this, you're likely to encounter what he called three spirits. The first is a test of temptation, all these desires to find some kind of satisfaction somewhere in the external world. And this just turns into another fixation. The second is a struggle with feeling abandoned and betrayed. You did everything by the book, so how did you deserve this? It's not fair. And the third is the spirit of confusion, which causes you to seek answers or understanding. So we ask, where did I go wrong? Like, what's really the problem here? But all of this is just meant to empty us out of all of the images we held on to and to help us ultimately move more into alignment with Source rather than feeling and knowing ourselves as separate from it. It's ultimately a process of liberating our desire so we may come to know ourselves as the pure love of Source energy. So it breaks down our human perspective so that we can ascend to our higher perspectives. So if this is something that you'd like to know more about, if you'd like me to cover this in more detail, because this is just scratching the surface, please leave a question or comment down below and consider subscribing because I will do future videos in this area. And, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.